So we got mindfulness. This is the last one I
Okay.
think we did was third eye because I remember we talked about that quite a bit. And
Yeah.
we left
Right.
off on there. So yeah, I'll just read this one and yeah, we can just go through them however whatever speed we go through.
All
But
right.
I don't think the origin, I guess is a short origin. I'll do it. Mindfulness meditation has practices derived from Vipassana, which we talked about last week, and other Hindu traditions. Mindfulness is a Western translation of the Buddhist term sati, anapanasati, which is the mindfulness of breathing. How to do it. Mindfulness meditation requires the user to focus on the present moment. You are supposed to focus on the present moment and non judgmentally accept the thoughts, sensations, and emotions that arise. Like most meditation practices, you'll want to focus on the flow of your breathing. When breathing in, make sure you're aware of it and how it feels. When breathing outwards, be aware of it and take mental notes on it. The main focus of this exercise is not to add anything into our present moment, but to notify what's going on without losing ourselves to anything that arises during the meditation session. Learn how to enjoy the practice. Once you're done meditating, appreciate how different your body and mind will feel. In fact, you can include mindfulness meditation throughout your daily activities while walking, talking, and eating. If you're doing daily life meditation, you have to be aware of what's going on in the current moment. For instance, if you're speaking, pay attention to how you speak, the words you are speaking, and listen to them with attention and presence. If you are walking, you'll be aware of your movements, the sounds around you, and your feet on the ground. To get the most out of mindfulness meditation, do a mixture of daily life and seated meditation. Both are equally important and will help you achieve better results. Cool. I think this is, we talked about Eckhart Tolle a little bit. Were you the one who brought him up or?
No, it wasn't me. It must
Okay,
have been. I
okay.
think it was the one of the other people. It was the guy. I forgot his name, and the other gal who was in
Yeah,
on the last session.
but I think he's like his thing is mindfulness practice. I don't know if he calls it that, but
Well, it depends because you have
yeah.
mindfulness, like when you're doing your sitting. Like
Mhm.
you kind of tune in, sort of zone out, and you process a lot of things, and you watch your breathing go in and out.
Yeah.
And then if you're trying to maintain a certain sort of centeredness like that as you go through your daily life, to me that reminds me more of the kind of the approach that George Gurdjieff and his students were into. He died like 1949, so that's going back a ways. But they always did their sort of sitting practices and their self-remembering, and not to get swept up so much by daily
Mhm.
life and circumstances. So it was more of a maintaining a kind of a grounded sort of centeredness. So that's what it kind of reminds me of there.
That makes sense. Yeah. The present moment. It's so simple, but it takes some practice. I feel like is the thing with mindfulness, which is nice. I like that simple
Yeah, it depends what
concept.
you want out of meditation. I mean,
That's a good
people
point.
meditate for different reasons. For some people, they start out because, they're trying to deal with their blood pressure,
Yeah.
or, or
Yeah.
some people are,
And different
just doing,
meditations have different points. Like they're trying to achieve different things sometimes. Like that's a
yeah,
good like this chakra one is getting into an interesting zone because now we're talking about like a metaphysical body and using meditation to what like activate, heal, stimulate. I don't know. Do you have much background in chakras and that
well,
kind of?
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, meditation, if you really go back to the Vedic scriptures, okay,
Okay.
and you really look at where in God's name did yoga and meditation come from, and you go way back, because the Vedic scriptures go way, way back. And I'm not particularly into Hinduism or whatever, but if you go way back, their belief is that mankind on this planet, this world, has gone through umpteen ages, and
Okay.
that in the beginning, man was not deteriorated. Man had a lifespan of thousands of years, and had telepathy and was very superior. And then something happened in the cosmos, and something went wrong. And this world was going to, they foresaw, a series of major ages of deterioration. And they lay them all out, you know. I could probably, you know, photograph a chapter or two, you know, like maybe
that'd
five.
be great. Send it over.
Yeah, but basically, you know, mankind pretty soon was only living to 500 years old, and, you know, this and that and the other. And then they foresaw that there was going to be an ultimate deterioration where mankind would go through the absolute worst time, which is known as the age of Kali, Kali.
Okay.
And it describes our world to a T. And I guess at that point they said, what could help people, like a kind of a lifeboat? What could help the individual survive in this kind of an age, this kind of a world? And that's where supposedly yoga comes from, because you've got the three types. You've got hatha yoga, you've got, you know, meditation yoga, you've got bhakti yoga. And so, you know, this was sort of a practice that was going to be kind of like a life preserver, that was going to be, you know, for anyone who wanted to use it. So that's kind of like where it's going back to. So,
so I imagine at this time, these chakras would probably have been like,
well, they have to do
more activated in us, or more powerful.
Yeah, but I mean, they have to do what I know. The chakras, which is the Hindu explanation, that they believe the spine is the center of energy, because it is where the kundalini comes in at the bottom of the spine, and it flows up through the spine. You see, the spine is like a lightning rod.
Okay.
Right? Even though I had wires put in mine.
Well, now yours is even more effective. That's like an upgrade.
But the spine has the it's the kundalini highway, right?
Okay.
And you have these chakras that supposedly they see them as a vertical, sort of like centers along the spine, you know. And supposedly in ordinary life, the way people live, the kundalini comes in at the bottom of the spine and only gets up to maybe like the third chakra, and then it gets pushed out again because of how we live, you see. And yoga, part of the reason people do meditation is that over time you're slowly drawing the energy, the kundalini, up the spine. And as it goes up the spine, it starts to sort of activate, or it affects each chakra. So usually, you know, by the time you're getting up to, I think it's the fourth chakra, which is the heart chakra, I forget.
Yep.
If the fourth chakra, then, you know, this has to do with, you know, feelings of compassion and all this. And so the yogi, you know, if you go, like I've been to India and you see the yogis there, of course, on the Ganges, but, you know, they're spending their days, you know, meditating, and they are drawing this energy up the spine, and getting it up to even like the top of their heads. And supposedly when they die, it's a conscious thing where they just let the energy go out through the top of their heads. So that's the Hindu explanation. I don't quite know what the Buddhist one is.
All right. Well, let's see what the MedMind life explanation is. And this is good because that's a great, we're going to go through all the chakras and stuff. So chakra meditation, and I think this would be Hindu. Well, we'll see what they say. Origin. Chakra meditation is the practice that requires you to focus on the 7 main chakras that's stored within your body. Since there are 7 forms of this type, we suggest that you select one and practice it for 10 minutes a day. Each of them represents a different part of the human body and can lead to physical or emotional damage if one of the chakras are blocked. Here are the 7 forms of chakra meditation. So, okay, that's interesting. So they make each of the chakras its own meditation. 1, root foundation chakra represents the foundation and keeps the user grounded. Location, tailbone of the spine, emotional issues, helps with emotional issues such as survival and financial independence.
Wow, that's a heck of an interpretation, but okay.
Yeah, is that not
financial independence? Oh boy, that's.
I know that's an interesting one. Yeah. It's interesting.
I just kind of wonder how they came to that conclusion, but we'll skip over that. Let's go on to the second.
I guess that's like survival, what survival feels like in the 21st century. It's kind of like very far removed
Yeah,
from,
it's kind of like, the primitive instinctual center,
yeah,
the lion is running at you, and boy, you got those, centers somewhere that are going to
no.
say, get up and go, right?
Maybe like resource collection or resource
Yeah,
independence would be closer
yeah.
to, but yeah, that's cool. I like that you pointed that out. That's interesting. All right, so the second one is the sacral, I think you say sacral chakra, one of those.
Hmm.
Connections in our ability to relate to new experiences and others. The lower abdomen is the location and the emotional issues, well-being, sexuality, pleasure, and sense of abundance. Okay. Solar plexus chakra, that's number 3. The ability to have control over your life, location, upper abdomen, emotional issues, self-esteem, self-worth, and self-confidence. And I know all of these have a color too, which I think you mentioned using colors in some kind of meditation. Was that not?
Well, no, actually, I'm looking. I have more of a background in the Central Asian sort of like Sufi or Kwajagan way. They consider it a science. So
Okay. I looked up the Sufic.
these have to do with the higher body. So I don't quite know how the Hindu system connects to the higher body, but
Yeah.
definitely I know about the Sufi one because I think I sent you the reference. It's in Shah's book, The Sufis.
Yes, I read that in the back of the part about it, and it was saying that it mentioned how it gets mixed up with the Hindu ones, but it seemed to imply that it wasn't exactly the same. And you're right, and each
Right.
one had
No,
its
it's kind
own
of it's
colors.
yeah, there's similarities. What's interesting is that they all are based on the law of seven or
Yeah,
the law
that's
of the
okay.
octave.
Hmm.
And that's another Gurdjieffian sort of thing that he brought to the West, which was that you've got two very fundamental cosmic laws. You've got the law of three, and you've got the law of the octave. And Pythagoras, this also was sort of like the basis of, his school way back. But, when you talk about the higher body, and whether it has, these organs, the organs of the higher body is how the Sufis look at these centers, and they're sort of dormant and they have to be woken up and the whole bit.
Okay.
But the whole thing is that if man is a microcosm, or if you look at the law as above, so below, then in a sense, this higher body has to be based on the cosmic law of octaves or 7 or 8. So whether you're looking at the Hindu chakra system or the Sufi Lataif thing, or even
Meaning
the
that
Jewish
these,
Kabbalah,
you're saying
it's
that meaning that these chakras repeat themselves in higher dimensions, like octaves. Is that
yeah,
right?
yeah. But I'm still saying that they're
Or
both recognizing the number 7 or 8
yeah,
as
it's
being
like an
in
octave has
in
7
each system. And the
individual
same thing with
elements.
the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is supposed to be 8. Someone changed it around, some Jewish philosopher in the 11th century, but the original Kabbalah was 8. So you see this in symbols. If you look at the octagon, that is 8. If you look at the Enneagram, that is 8. So you see all these sort of symbols. But so those are similarities. As for colors, I don't know about the Hindu
Okay.
chakras. So what
All
is
right.
it? Colors? Are we're on the throat chakra, right?
I think we didn't do the heart. Let's just do
Okay.
it. A quick one. 4, heart chakra, the ability to love, location center of your chest, emotional issues, inner peace, joy, and love.
Mm-hmm.
Throat chakra, number 5, with communication, location, throat, emotional issues, self-expression of truth and feelings, communication. Third eye chakra, the ability to visualize and see the bigger picture. That's the 6th one. Location, forehead, between your eyes, emotional issues, imagination, intuition, wisdom, and the ability to make decisions. And then finally, the crown chakra is number 7, the highest chakra that represents our ability to connect with our spirituality. The highest point, location is the highest point in your head, emotional issues, our connection to pure bliss and spirituality, and inner and outer beauty. So how you do it is performed like most meditation methods. However, the user has to decide which chakra they want to focus on before the meditation session. We suggest that you start with the root chakra for a week and then move on to other chakra forms. pretty vague, but all right. Do you have anything to add there before we go to the next one? Let's see, how many do we have?
Really, I mean, it
Okay.
depends who's writing the book, is who's putting in their extra sort of like opinions. I
Yeah.
just think meditation is a matter of doing it.
Okay.
That's an important thing.
Yeah, this
But
is just like a
let's
super
look at the Taoists, because the
Taoist.
Taoists are
Big Tao.
they're an interesting bunch.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. And I like how they use both Tao and Dao here in the intro. Okay, since there's not too long in origin, let's read that one. The Taoist meditation originates from the Chinese philosophy Taoism. I like how Taoist meditation comes from Taoism. It's like,
Well, it depends how you want to pronounce it.
I know, it's like they're just like, we're gonna mix and match. It's no biggie. It's true. I agree with that. This practice emphasizes living in harmony with Tao or nature, and it dates back to the 6th century BC. Some of the Taoist practices were influenced by the Indian Buddhist practices that occurred in the 8th century CE. The main characteristics of Taoist meditation is the creation, circulation, and transformation of inner energy. This is used to unify the body and spirit, quiet the mind, harmonize with your inner Tao, and find inner peace. Sounds nice. How to do it? Taoist meditation has several different types. Here are the most common practices that you cause throughout the day. I like that wording. Intervision. Intervision or inner? I'm going to say it's intervision. That's what it says. Oh, like interior. Okay. Visualizing the interior of one's mind, including the organs, inner thought processes, and movements. This is a process of acquainting yourself with the nature and wisdom of your body. There are some specific instructions for this practice, so having a good book or good teacher is required. The one that always comes to mind for Taoist meditations is Mantak Chia. Mantak Chia? How do you say it? Mantak Chia.
I'm looking. I'm not sure I could see this far. I have my iPad too far away.
Yeah, this Mantak Chia man, he's made tons of Taoist meditation, and he doesn't hold back. Like, he'll do this stuff where, like, I have one of his books that's about, it talks about all the different organs, the Zangfu organs, which are like the metaphysical ones. There are 5 main ones, and each one has a color, and you breathe in and a certain healing sound. But then he also talks about stuff like, I don't know, like weird, like no, I don't want to say weird, but I like how he doesn't like hold back, basically like tying stuff onto your genitals or like weird stuff like that. That's kind of supposed to increase
Yeah, I mean, you have all
energy.
you have all these offshoots with whether it's Zen or the Chan Buddhists, or
but I feel like Taoists get very specific and kind of weird sometimes. That's been my experience. I don't know if you.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Zen and stuff is pretty straightforward.
It relates to their martial arts, and they do different things.
Oh, if you're talking about that, yeah, the martial aspect of the meditation stuff.
Well, I used to watch one of my favorite shows. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Did you ever see the one with David, what's his face?
Dean. I've tried to watch
the Kung Fu show. That was hysterical.
Yeah, it wasn't.
He was this guy who had to run away from China. He was a Shaolin monk, right? Yep. And they do all the meditation, but then they also believe in training the body, and so they are martial arts masters and all this. And here he is in the Wild West. And I just thought, that was just such a great show. I thought
I gotta watch that show. I think I started watching it and I didn't give it enough of time to get into it. But yeah, that's the greatest premise. A Kung Fu guy in the Old West? Like, come on.
Well, I mean, that was back in the 70s. And so it was, I thought it was actually a pretty good premise for a weekly show. It went for quite a while. Really. And, David Carradine was, of course, this ultimate sort of weirdo, But
no, he's an interesting actor for sure. So,
but you have all these different monks, and then who, they come up with their own system. But I know one of the first things I studied in university was the Tao Te Ching, which is the way, Lao Tzu. And but the Chinese were also, part of their metaphysics has to do with alchemy. So they have a very cryptic way of writing The Secret of the Golden Flower. They have all these sort of uh, I don't know. I don't read Chinese, of
Well,
course, but
actually, it's funny you say that because the next part is basically what that I feel like you're talking about the second type of Taoist meditation they mentioned, internal alchemy,
yeah.
esoteric and complex practice of inner transformation, utilizing breathing exercises, visualization, and concentration. Some of the Qigong exercises are a simplified form of the traditional internal alchemy practices. I like how they recognize that it's like very deep and nuanced. Traditional Chinese medicine in general, like all the branches of it, are like incredibly in depth, like a medical science is. And it's like I was surprised when I went to start studying it to be like, oh yeah, I'll just learn like the meridian system and acupressure. And then I was like, oh, this is like medical school. Like I guess I'm not gonna learn this, at least not in the capacity that I was hoping to. So
Well, it is complex because when I was first sick and I was in San Francisco,
yeah.
I kind of, the doctors couldn't help me, but I was not that far from Chinatown. And I
Oh.
went off, and I was one of the only people for many years who had acupuncture. And I had
Mm.
to, at that time, they decided to pass a law in California outlawing acupuncture unless the
Oh,
person
oh,
doing it
okay.
had an MD,
Oh,
was a
because there were
medical
like
doctor.
scammers and stuff and
Well, all
crazy
I
stuff.
know is that, this was, Jerry Brown was, governor then, so God knows. But anyway, so I went, and there was a guy, he had been a medic in Korea.
Okay.
He'd been in the Korean War, and he was fascinated by, trying to read up on and learn acupuncture. So he was the front man in an office in Chinatown. And, he was consulting with these acupuncturists, like, behind a curtain kind of thing. And
Okay.
I remember getting like 50 needles stuck in me, in my body. And I went home and I just had a horrible headache. But then it wasn't too
Oh.
long after I moved to LA, and there was no acupuncture here. Unless you were Chinese and you lived in
Yeah.
Chinatown, you had no way to get acupuncture. So the first time acupuncture was brought into, as I say, like, Western kind of setting, again, it was UCLA had this pain control unit, and they had an acupuncturist from Chinatown who came in. So after that, things sort of changed. And but for a long time, you couldn't get acupuncture here. I mean, it would cost
Okay.
you a small fortune. It was like $150 a session or something. So that was a whole thing there. But yeah, definitely. But that's their thing is, they take your pulse, and they're listening to like 7 different pulses or something. It's
Yeah.
very complex, very complex.
No, I know it's a whole thing. It's fair. They're not playing around. So
Yeah, and the ones who do it the best are the really, really, really old guys.
it's gotta
'Cause
be,
I
right?
went, I went to
I hope so.
acupuncture here because my insurance would pay for it. And I went to one guy, he didn't speak a word of English. And I said, I've had, ringing in my ears. And I swear to God, in one session, that got eliminated. And then another time I went back, but I think it might have been like his son or his nephew,
Oh,
much younger. And I didn't think that he anywhere near had the skills of the
okay.
old guy.
Okay.
So it takes them their entire life. So don't fret about it.
All right. So next one we got here is visualization. And so I'm just going to do the how to do it because it's longer and we're running low on
Yeah.
time. So getting into your normal sitting stance and close your eyes. When you're meditating, allow your mind to associate itself with different images that appear. Here are some tips that can help increase your visualizations during this exercise. Relax and don't overthink it if you don't see images straight away. There's no correct or wrong way to visualize. You view your visualization as something fun. Start with simple items first. Once you become more experienced, your visualizations will become more elaborate. Start with closing your eyes, taking a deep breath, and counting to 4. Breathe in. Breathe to the count of 4. Release your breath for a count of 8. Repeat this breathing pattern and start to visualize a black screen. Now start to think of different visualizations you can add to the black screen. For example, you can imagine an orange line. As you progress, you'll start to make even more vivid visualizations in your mind. Okay, so I guess this is a method of training your imagination or something. It kind of just sounds like imagination to me.
Well, some of the Sufi orders do something like that too,
Yeah,
where
like what do they visualize?
they have people do visualizations of, and it has to do with certain colors, and
Okay,
that connects to their La Taif system,
that makes
and
sense.
they're trying to get those centers to get activated, but they feel that those centers really are really not physical locations. They have a very vague sort of
Yeah.
connection to areas of the body, So
Okay,
they have something similar, maybe. Yeah. Well,
makes sense. I like that.
meditation. What's meta?
You've heard of this?
No, meta.
Okay, I haven't
In,
either. This is the only one.
In Greek, meta means big. That's all.
Okay, interesting. So this comes from a Pali word, which I don't even know what Pali is personally. Do you?
No, I
Okay,
think it's him, isn't it?
I don't know. Maybe. Word goodwill, kindness, and benevolence is what it means, meta for them. This practice with two T's, so it's a little different. This practice originates with the Buddhist traditions, especially the Tibetan and Theravada lineage. How you do it
Mm-hmm.
is you sit down in a meditation position with your eyes closed, then begin to develop positive feelings towards yourself, then towards others that are around you. Usually, this progression is shown like this. Actually, I think I have heard of this. Yourself, so you're visualize or you're developing positive feelings towards first yourself, then a close friend, then a neutral person, then a difficult or bad person. This is in quotes. All and then five, all of the previous four people, and then six, the entire universe. You can help yourself in this practice by reciting specific sentences and words that create a boundless, warm-hearted feeling. That's a nice descriptor. Boundless, warm-hearted feeling. I like that. Understanding the pain of others by imagining another being's state and wishing them happiness and peace. So this is interesting to me because it's the only one. Is it the only one? Well, at least it seems different to me in that it's cultivating a certain feeling or way of being. And it's less like mental and more emotional, like cultivating a certain emotion. So I don't know. What do you take about this?
Well, it reminds me of the belief
Mm,
that certain very advanced monks, whether they're Tibetan or whatever,
okay.
uh, in a sense are in their meditation and spiritual advancement, whatever, every day, even if they are in remote places, are in a sense helping balance all the energies in this planet and
Yeah.
keeping everything sort of from going to the dogs totally. And I
Mm,
think there was an interesting anecdote. In 1905, there was an unfortunate incident. It had to do with the British in India, and it was called the Young Husbands Expedition. And a certain Buddhist monk accidentally got shot and killed.
okay.
And going back to the teacher George Gurdjieff, who was all over Asia and everywhere else,
Mm,
he became, when he heard of this, he became terribly depressed. And he said,
okay.
"You have no idea." He said, "There are
Wow.
people, who you don't know about and you'll never hear about, who, in a sense, through their meditation and their whatever that they do, are keeping the world from just, being really bad." And he said,
Yeah.
because monk had been killed, that the 20th century was going to be the worst century that we had ever seen.
Man, don't put that on me, George. Maybe he's right. I don't know, but I don't. I don't like.
This is
I prefer to be a little more optimistic. but
well, no, but he told his
but that is
students,
tragic. That
told his
I get
students
that. I
like
get the
like
point.
1908, okay, and it wasn't too long after that you had the Russian Revolution
Oh my goodness!
for
And the
one,
World
and
War.
then
Yeah.
you had the 1918 flu,
Yeah.
and then you
Um,
had World War II. I mean, the 20th century was just a disaster.
oh, we're in the 21st. Okay, I feel a
I
little
know, but he was talking about the
better.
20th.
No, I know. I'm saying I
There's
feel a
hope.
little better
There's
now. Sorry
hope
for
for the
being
20th.
so selfish and self-involved, but
Yeah, but that's you're saying that reminded me of the monks and
that's
people who are
interesting.
very tucked away. They're
Mm,
actually, in a sense, serving humanity
yeah,
by
one of the things
sort of
that
visualizing and doing all these interesting practices. I don't know exactly what they do, but
yeah,
they are wizards.
one thing I learned recently or heard recently in an NDE, I think it was the guy Eben Alexander who did Proof of Heaven, and he was saying one of the things that he learned in this NDE is that like your thoughts um kind of like influence everything. Like I forget how he put it, but like your thoughts and feelings spread out throughout the whole of the cosmos and have an influence. So what you're saying about the monks, taking a full-time responsibility to attuning the cosmos or this world to
Yeah.
the
Well, no, I think
frequencies of
there is some,
compassion and
but
peace.
I do think that people who become sort of like spiritually advanced, and they're not just doing it to become spiritually advanced. There's sort of like a price to be paid in the sense that the more capacity you have, then you have a greater responsibility to serve humanity. You know, it's kind of like learning to swim. If all of a sudden people are stuck on an island and you need to get across, somewhere, and only one guy knows how to swim, guess who gets to go? and go for help or whatever it is. So if you have a certain capacity, you will be called upon to use that to benefit humanity. The rest of us are just trying to get through our day without, cursing at people in traffic, but so
I
that's
think that's a
interesting that
perfect
came up
note.
with meta meditation. What's another one? Is there another one in the book?
No, that's it. We got
Uh,
through it. We did it. Woo,
oh,
go us. Yeah, no, and I think that was a perfect note. I'm gonna probably cut the audio right after you said that last thing. And yeah, that'll be nice. I've been posting I wanted to be able to reference back to these. We're always talking about interesting topics. I'm like, oh, I want to look that up, So I've been putting the audios on
well,
my
I'll send you the thing on the Hindu Vedic view of
yeah,
the age
send me all that. And I think you were gonna
of
send me
mankind.
okay.
It's
You're
really
gonna
not
send me a
our
picture.
fault that the world is a mess. It was some sort of cosmic
Mhm.
misalignment or
Yeah,
something.
the Age of Kali. That's the one thing I wrote
Yeah,
down to check
yeah,
out later.
uh, yeah.
All
So
right.
okay, well,
I'm getting pretty tired. I'm gonna grab some food. I don't know. Maybe do some meditation. I guess I ought to after all this talking and walk the talk, right?
yeah, yeah. Well,
I like
anyway,
how you said that. You sound so yeah. like
no, I'm sitting here. Got to let the dogs out. I've got two dogs who get
yeah.
pretty antsy here, and
All
they're climbing
right.
over me.
Oh, that's well. They need their mama to take them out for some exercise. That sounds nice.
No, I just opened the door. I got a pretty good place they can run around.
Okay.
They bark at the squirrels. So anyway, yeah. Well, have a
All
good week.
right. Yeah, you too.
Stay
Send me those
healthy.
things, and if you, I'll come up with a topic, obviously. But if you do have any ideas or something you want to talk about, let me know. And yeah, we'll catch up next week, God willing.
All right. Okay.
Cool. All right.
All
Take care. Bye.
right. Bye bye.